Talks with T and Shez.
Hey!
Hello.
Hi, Shez!
Hey, T. And hi, TeeCee.
Oh, TeeCee's in the car. Oh, she's gone. She's gone for a few minutes, it looks like. Yeah, so how are you doing, Shez? How are you doing today?
You know something? I'm good. On my screen, I can see that you're frozen, and
Am I?
see I'm here as well. But I'm good. It's gonna be
Well,
hard.
you're
I'm actually gonna have to
moving.
see. Am I moving?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're moving. That's a necessity.
Okay. No, not on my screen. Everything's like.
Should I fix my hair? Go. Okay, do really good. Is that you?
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, so it's gonna be really awkward. So I'm not gonna be able to gauge facial expressions or anything, but we'll work it out.
What do you think? Do you want to come out and come back in?
I can give that
and
a
then
try.
John bring you up straight away.
That would be really good, actually. But just before I go, just hi everyone. You're here.
Everybody, we're just waiting for Shez to come back in. She's going to go and come back, and then we're going to introduce our guest.
There you go. T, if you want to go ahead and do all the introductions before I come back in, you need to say
I will.
Okay, see you in a moment.
Oh my goodness. So we are on Talks with T and Shez, and it is Thursday, but it is Thursday evening, and we normally do the afternoon actually. We normally do afternoon. We normally do 12:30, but we have a special guest with us today, and so we had to work around her time schedule, which is good because sometimes you have to do what you've got to do to get what you want to get. So I'm going to bring Shez back in. Here we go. Shez, can you see yourself?
Yes, I can see it.
So guys, anybody that comes on, so our afternoon people are not here yet. But any of you that comes on, we'd love it if you would like and share with those around you. We are happy that we are here today and that you are with us. So we are doing, as you know, we do Talks with T and Shez, and I'm T, and you are who?
Shez.
Yeah. So this is Limitless Talks, and when we talk about limitless, we've got the limitless vision, which is about literally inspiring people, getting people established, literally getting them to look into themselves. It's about bringing restoration to individuals, helping them to understand themselves, empowering individuals to develop focus and strengthen their skills and abilities, and enable them to make decisions based on their capacity, not anybody else's idea of what you should do, but your idea of how much you can do and how much you can go for. It's all about being individual. So today, Shez, do you want to say anything before I say anything else? Because I can talk.
I can only echo what you've said already. You know, we're a Christian faith-based organisation. It's a charity. We're just out there just to support other people through their journey and helping people just to reach that level where they are limitless. They take the limits off themselves, which based on their experiences, and operate in a way in freedom with the biblical principles. You're still there.
I'm here. I'm still here. So we have a really special guest here today, and she is I'll call her my baby. Aww. One of my babies. She's beautiful. She's just vibrant. She has a massive personality. Met her many, many years ago through her mother, who is a good friend of mine. And we just grew a relationship together. I remember she used to come to church with me in a transitional stage, and then she's moved on and she's grown so I can't even begin to express, she's one that I find it hard to express about, because she has grown so much. I mean, I think she's phenomenal. Honestly, I don't even know if I can catch her up now at my age. Do you know what I mean? And she goes by the name of TeeCee when she's doing broadcasting work, but with me, I call her T, right? Wow. So I want you to welcome to the stage Talisha. T, my little T, come to the stage. Hi, Talisha.
Hi, Talisha. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm fine, thank you. That was like that's like the best intro I've ever had. So I'm feeling very, very good.
You know what? You need me to go everywhere with you just for the intro, innit? Yeah. Right. Shez, do you want to start with
Well,
T?
like I said, what can you say after that introduction? It's so lovely to have you on here with us. I used to go to church together, really, and I remember the times when I used to pick you up and drop you back home after church. So it's always absolutely lovely just seeing you grow. It's been a long time since I've seen you in person, but I do follow you on social media, so it's just lovely to have you here with us. So before we get right into the nitty-gritty, because we are talking about culture, and last week we were talking about, an area of beauty with makeup, and we've done that for the past 2 weeks. So today we're going to be with Talisha talking about our image, what we put, how we look, how we put ourselves across. So before we get into that part, Talisha, just give us in three words. If you just say 3 words that describe you.
So if I could think of 3 words to describe me, I would say unique, colourful, and optimistic.
I like those.
Yeah, we do too.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'd start with the professional hat, I guess, because that's what I tend to go to first. I'm a BBC TV presenter, and then I also work at BBC Studios as a development researcher. So it's basically just a fancy way of saying I get paid to come up with ideas for TV shows and short form content that I have to then pitch to the commissioner, who will then decide whether or not it gets broadcast to TV or commissioned for TV. And then outside of my TV career, I'm an author of a children's book called Snow Black, The 7 Rastas and Other Short Stories. And I'm also a career coach as well. And I run a platform called Not Your Average Girl, which is essentially just about helping young women in entry and early positions in their TV and media career just level up both personally and professionally.
Ooh,
wow.
I love the elevator speech. Well done.
Wow. Yeah, I'm loving it. Do you know, I've got a book, Snow Black.
Yeah.
So I've got the first one. I haven't got the second one yet, but I've got the first one because she just literally is such an inspiration for a young girl. Because you did, just before we go into our original interview, because you did that when you was quite young, didn't you, T? Was it 14 or 15?
So I wrote the first one when I was 15 and launched it at 16.
Yeah. And that is literally fantastic. She's a unique young lady.
Thank you.
We love.
So you mentioned about that, not the average girl. So tell us a little bit about that. I know, where did that come from? Where did the name come from? Give us a bit of history.
So the name Not Your Average Girl is sort of like a slogan that I coined in my early teens. So I was about 16. And it was just sort of finding a way to brand myself, because I kind of grew up having an identity crisis. And it's not so I grew up in a Christian household. So in terms of my family foundation, that was always very stable. But at the age of 3 years old, I had a cousin who kind of was the first point of pointing out my difference. And she kind of ridiculed me about my skin colour. Following on to that, I then went to school, and then more of the kids used to do the same thing. And I kind of started to notice a common theme of, kind of every different social occasions and events that I went to, people would kind of use my skin color as kind of a tool against me to kind of make me feel less than. So I had a real identity crisis, and my self-concept was not in check for a long time. But thankfully to my parents, who were very empowering and very encouraging, I also had like this other side of me who was still trying to channel that you are fearfully and wonderfully made element of myself. So it's constantly this battle of you're still struggling with your self-concept on one hand, but at the same time, you still do have an idea of who you are, because of the foundation your parents gave you. So Not Your Average Girl was about me just kind of taking back that power a little bit and saying, not everyone has to be alike, not everyone has to be the same. This is your way of standing out and kind of finding your tribe. And I knew there must be more young women like me who feel the same way, that may not necessarily feel secure about their looks or their image, but there's definitely many other elements that can make them great. So that's all it was about, really.
Oh, wow.
That's commendable, definitely, because, we can all identify, well, in some way, shape or form. I know me and T have spoken in past weeks about a little bit about our childhood and growing up, and you know, and we look forward to kind of divulging into that area. And we definitely have, I'm already saying this already, we have to really have hard to get into that, that subject, definitely identity. And that is a subject which is very close to my heart as well. So, really
I hear you.
what you're doing.
Yeah, I hear you, because like Shez has just says, we totally identify, because I find that the most peculiar people, believe it or not, are the ones that seem to have had some kind of ostracization in school, or somebody has been against them or something like that. And somehow, because of that, they have had no choice but to find their own identity. And so, you can see that you're totally out the box, girl.
I mean, it's a total contrast, because before I used to do everything to blend in, and now I do everything to stand out. So
what sort of things did you used to do to blend in?
I just used to wear like a lot of black, funnily enough. I never used to wear colour. I just used to try and not it sounds really weird, but I used to purposely not look nice, just so that people wouldn't notice me. And a funny story is that my sister was having, she entered a fashion competition where she kind of showcased some fashion pieces. And I went to that event, and there was another designer who was displaying her collection there, and her name was Victoria Bramwell. And she did this amazing collection called the Alice in Wonderland collection. And like, just to kind of visualize, it was like big yellow bows in the hair, red tights, sort of clashing teal print. It was really bold and in your face. And I just thought, oh my gosh, that is what I need to incorporate in my life. Like, I was just almost mesmerized by how bold these models looked. And since then, my wardrobe has, and I was really young. I was still about 16, 17.
Wow.
And my whole wardrobe just had like a transformation from then on.
Wow.
Yeah. And you know something? That's what I know you for. I know you for the colour blocking. So I know that I've taken some of your ideas and I actually entered that into my wardrobe after meeting you. So the whole, the bright mustard shoes and purple tights and a green top, just like working it and just really just kind of, something. This looks, I like it. This looks pretty. This works. And so I was definitely inspired. So the same way you was inspired by somebody else, and you then have kind of transformed yourself and are inspiring. So I always use that comment about inspired to inspire. I think that definitely something that you're doing. And I tell you, just mentioned something actually which really jumped out of me. It was a word that I thought about today, and it was the word peculiar. Because in the Bible it says that we are a peculiar person. We're supposed to be different, aren't we? And many times we do enter into positions for various reasons. And TeeCee, you just mentioned the reason why you kind of wanted to blend in. But we are here to stand out. Stand out. So how have you found the adjustment with other people? Because we talked about your kind of growth and how you became this beautiful butterfly of colours. How did other people adjust to that, and how did you kind of navigate through that process?
I think for my family it was completely random, but I think naturally it made sense to them, my immediate family, because I already had this very animated personality. So then somehow this whole dressing in black thing and trying to like blend in, it didn't work with my personality in the first place. I've always been someone who loves the camera. He's very animated. He likes to laugh a lot, very optimistic. So I was almost trying to become stylistic wise something I wasn't. So naturally they just accepted this transformation. I mean, for other people, especially living in Birmingham, sometimes being the second city, it's not as eccentric as London, for example, where you have people just who will walk down the road in a banana suit, for example. So in Birmingham, I have found just kind of even being out in the town centre, people are less accepting. But to be honest, I don't really care. Like, I just feel like no one's opinions are paying my bills, and you really have to kind of get to the stage where it's okay if people don't like what you're wearing, and it's okay if they ridicule you, because you just have to get to the stage where you're just comfortable in your skin, in your outfit, and just kind of own it. And the more you own it, I feel like people naturally will become comfortable, because, well, they've got no choice really.
Get used to it. I'm not changing.
Get used to it.
I think that, you know what, I really liked what you just said. I loved when you just said, nobody's paying my bills.
I'm going to say that jumped out at me too. Is that, yeah,
you know what? I'm going to take that one out too.
I'm not paying bills.
It's amazing how people can literally put you in a box, isn't it? There's so many different avenues we have in life, but there's always some type of person that wants to put you in a box. And I think that being an individual is such an important factor as to the way we go forward. And one of the scriptures that I was thinking of was, Sheryl, Shez, you said about being peculiar people. You know, I mean, the Bible says we are a peculiar people, a royal priesthood. It says a royal priesthood, a peculiar people. But then the other thing that I was looking at is the creation, and how God from the beginning made so much diverse things. Do you know what I mean? He's first and foremost, it was a black abyss, I would say. I would call it a black, abyss. There's nothing there, and it was a nothingness. And then God says, you know what, I'm going to sort this out. I'm going to divide the waters from the waters, and then I'm going to make this, and I'm going to make that. And then on different days he made different things. And when we look outside and we look at creation, we look at the plants and the flowers and the trees, and everything's so different. Do you know what I mean? Why would he make man to be a clone of each other, or just to look like each other? And even as we look at man, our human, there's 3 of us in here, and every one of us look different, but we're all unique in the way that we look. And so why would people think it's necessary to put us into boxes? And we've got to identify ourselves and fall in love with who we were created to be. And one of the things you said was that you saw this idea and you decided, I want that. That is me. That is me. You owned it and took it and said, I don't care what anybody thinks. This is now me, because I've been looking for something that was innately in me, but I couldn't identify with it. But now I can identify. 100%. That is just phenomenal in itself.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because when we talk about uniqueness, and as we walk into it, reality is, the Bible also says there's nothing new under the sun. So there's other things which we can relate to, and there's things that we will naturally gravitate to. So if that person always wears black, doesn't necessarily mean that there is something emotionally attached to that reason. Some people just like that look, and they gravitate to a certain, and people gravitate to different looks, don't they?
Absolutely.
And that's why I love looking at culture, because it's so unique to the person. And there's nothing to strip away from it. And I am going to go back to that point that you made in terms of you don't pay my bills, because you mentioned in terms of your job, you work in the BBC, so you're working in the media setting, the TV industry. So how is your look, the way that you present yourself, how has that pushed you in your role and what you do on a daily basis?
Funnily enough, so as of today, I started a new job at BBC Studios, which is like an independent company outside of the BBC, so it's commercial. So I've started there today, but prior to that, coming into kind of like the BBC initially and this whole media world, they obviously speak a different language. it's some, I mean, let's be honest, I'm the first person who looks like me in my entire family generation to work in white corporate TV. It just wasn't a thing that was done. So when I got there was all these kind of like preconceived notions about how I was supposed to speak, how I was supposed to sound. And I remember the guy who interviewed me, he was the editor at the local radio station at the time. And I said to him, you know, like, what do I wear, like, coming into the BBC? And he literally looked at me and said, look, as long as you don't wear a bikini, wear what you like. And it just made me like feel so much more comfortable, because I was literally coming in with pink braids, you know, colourful attire, and you just kind of had this office where people were just so formal, and it was just like, here's me, kind of, you know, working class Afro-Caribbean girl, colourful at that, thick Brummie accent, just like plunked into this environment, which was completely
Hello.
But do you know what? What a lot of young women coming into this industry have really admired about that is that they said, by seeing you and seeing that you could just unapologetically be yourself, it's now empowered me to feel comfortable to wear braids and do things that's innate to our culture. Because a lot of people, in the name of their career, will allow their culture to be stripped of them, which is a shame.
Wow.
Especially in my industry, because kind of the further you get up the top is the less and less of us you start to see, and naturally you start to blend in, or you feel like you have to blend in with what's around you. But you don't realize how key it is to really exist and own that, because you may think other people are uncomfortable, but actually they're liberated just by you being yourself. So I just think it's really important that part of your culture. I know that culture, like, so many different elements make that up, but a part of that is about your style. It's about, you know, just who you are, how you talk. Even though I'm Jamaican descent, a part of my culture is that I've got a thick Brummie accent. I'm a Brummie girl at heart. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of people look at me.
Me too.
Yeah, a lot of people look at me like I'm supposed to sound a certain way because I'm the Caribbean girl. I'm like, well, I'm from Birmingham. This is how I sound.
Exactly. That is amazing.
And the thing is, you touched on some things which we spoke about. I think it was in the first week. No, it was one of the weeks anyway. But I was doing some research into a lot of what we do, and it's, you know, not just people from African Caribbean descent, a lot of the other cultures as well. You end up coming into an environment and you start to blend in. And a few people have said, you know, coming from different countries which speak different languages, even when they go into a different country where they are then becoming different, they often try to blend in so much so that they dismiss part of their heritage. And there's certain languages which are literally dying out because people aren't being, you know, aren't holding on to it. And it's kind of seen as, oh no, that's for the older people. We need to move to the modern day time.
Yeah.
I'm missing out so much, because I believe that if everyone just brings a little bit of themselves to the table, well, me and all, a little bit of themselves to the table, it just opens up the world to a whole beautiful part, rather than if we're all look the same. If every single day you're just eating Kentucky Fried Chicken, every single day, you'll just be bored. And you know, and you won't be healthy. And I think it's healthy for us to have conversations about different people, and for everyone just to recognise that we are different. But yet there are certain things which we are the same. So what have you noticed in those environments that you've gone into which you found like a similarity, which has surprised people as well?
I guess TV is a culture in itself. It's a part of, you know, the whole culture in education and society. In that sense, it has a lot of influence. So I guess the most obvious thing is the passion for the culture of TV. Like, these are people who live and breathe content, and I know people literally watch a TV show and it's kind of like, oh, that was good or it was bad. But if you only knew the amount that goes into one single program. And if I start to get really technical and break that down by the science of TV and the format of TV and how each element, each beat is carefully constructed to evoke a certain emotion from the audience, whether that's sadness, laughter, fear, nostalgia, whatever that is, every single beat in that format is carefully thought about and constructed. And that culture of TV is something we definitely have in common. Aside from the fact that we're just human, like literally like before, like sometimes you can get so caught up in like color and race and gender and religion and all these different categories that we divide ourselves into. But first and foremost, we're just people who happen to share a passion and love for how we influence the next generation of youth content watchers of TV. And that's it. Like, when you keep it so basic, it just simplifies it rather than this whole divide.
No, and that is brilliant. So I'm looking how the time is winding down. So
already, I know.
The thing is, it happens because we've only got a short time. We try to fit it within half an hour, and I think we're doing really well.
Today.
And I've just absolutely loved listening to you. And like I said, there's so many areas which I know we can divulge into even further. But even thinking about that, a question comes to mind. If you had to give advice to your younger self, knowing all that you know now and that you've experienced at this time in life, what would you say?
I would just say to myself, you are good enough. I think it took me a very long time to accept that, like, everything about me was carefully thought about by God. Like, when you actually see that God took time, like, it's an insult to basically say to him, you got it wrong when you don't like yourself. And I couldn't, like, me and God I would say we have a very transparent relationship where sometimes, like, I'm very raw with him, and sometimes people would be like, if you knew the kind of relationship I had with God, you'd be like, how could you talk to God like that? But I'm the kind of person that I will say everyone's relationship with God is unique, and mine is very transparent and open. But one thing that I haven't been bold enough to say to God yet is, you got it wrong when you made me. That's not something I've been bold enough to ever say to him. So it was a case of taking that into consideration and saying, well, actually, you have to kind of do a reframing of how you look at yourself. And I really had to do a paradigm shift and look at even the good, bad, and the ugly. And I'm not saying every single bad thing that happens to you is for a reason, because I think even sometimes that can get taken out of context. However, I do believe there are elements of, the struggle that I went through when I was younger that have definitely defined where I am now, where I'm going, the kind of things that I do, even in terms of empowering other people, and the importance of doing that has all stemmed from that pain, that childhood trauma. I don't think I would be able to have the zeal that I do now for really channeling and pushing professional and personal development the way that I do if it had not been for that experience. So I think, definitely telling myself that you are good enough just the way that you are, and that you are more than your appearance, you are more than your location, you are a spiritual being who has intrinsic value. That's what I would say to my younger self. Absolutely.
Wow, that is just amazing. And I think just listening to you actually kind of makes me I kind of see a bit of myself in you, believe it or not, because I'm like thinking, gosh, man, the reasons why I do what I do is because of what I went through. And so it just actually heightens that thing that, that it's broken pieces that when they come together, or if you reshape it, or do you know what I mean, you do something different with it, that when it comes together, it actually fits very well. Do you know what I mean? And so the broken pieces are that you probably was really broken when your cousin said what they said to you, and felt like, I just can't manage to hear this anymore. I'm fed up of it. Then you went and found an identification of yourself. That's what I want to look like. And then your journey started that, you know, I mean, you came out of that box that people had literally put you in, but it was from that broken state that made you desire to be who you wanted to be. And I'm looking at a scripture here, actually. It says in Psalms 130, 39, verses 13, you alone created my inner being. You knitted me together inside my mother. I will give you thanks. I will give thanks to you because I have been so amazingly and miraculously made. Your works are miraculous, and my soul is fully aware of this. This is what David was saying to God, that if you look at David, David was like put aside. They didn't even think of him. They didn't even think of him, did they? When the prophet came to ask after him, they didn't even think of him as being even significant enough to be looked upon. Not even his father did. But guess what? We are who God created us to be, and being who God created us to be, we have to look at this scripture in verse 14. It says, I have been so amazingly, oh my gosh, I love this version. I don't know what version it is. Amazingly.
It's usually fearfully and wonderfully.
Fearfully,
yeah. I like this version. Yeah. It says, I have been so amazingly miraculously made. Your works are miraculous, and my soul, my whole being, miraculous, and my soul is fully aware of this. My whole being has become so aware of this that I just carry on the way I need to carry on and be the person that I need to be. And that's what I see when I see you. Shez, do you want to say anything with regards to that?
Yeah, I just, I can only echo what you've said already. And also say as well that even though we are called to be unique and to be different in everything that we are doing, we're also called as well to carry the fruit. The fruit it talks about as Christians that we're known by our fruit. So we're known by love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, meekness, temperance, and self-control. All these things. So out of even in our difference, and I just think that's amazing how we're called to be different, we're called to be unique in our way. But yes, there is a similarity there because we're part of a body, aren't we? A body of Christ. But we get to share that love in the way that, is unique for us. So, bless you and bless those of you watching as well. We encourage you to be your authentic, unique self and just recognize that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And if you can remember what T just said, which I'm going to find that version.
It's amazingly, miraculously. Amazingly. Remember those words. Amazingly, miraculously.
Miraculously made. Just be blessed, be encouraged. And I can also say I identify with you, and I'm sure that so many other people who are watching and listening identify too. So thank you again.
Thank you guys for having me.
And we want to encourage you in your new position, that you just excel and go further and further. Congratulations. So we just want, oh gosh, it's so fantastic to know that you've moved and transitioned into a new place. That is really brilliant. And I know that you will also continue to influence others in that environment as well, because you being who you are actually inspires somebody else to be who they are. And I think that's really important. That's an important factor to actually growth and that's part of being influential. God wants you to be influential. Yeah, are we done? Oh my gosh, I think we've done, and we're done before time.
We've done. So, TeeCee, we look forward to having you back again. T, I look forward to seeing you next week for more Limitless
Talks with T and Shez. Yeah.
And you guys.
Yeah. Bye. Hopefully Jonathan logs us out. I think we have to do it ourselves.
I think we're gonna have to do it too.
He's used to the 40 minutes, isn't it? So bye guys, we love you, have a good day. Oh, T, you'll be back for the book, so we'll get you back for the book at some point.
Lovely.
Bye guys, have a great day. Bye.
Bye everyone. Bye.